Okay, I'll walk you through the two parts for the headphone case at this point. The next project is going to be improving that, but you need to have something modeled before you can actually improve it. There's some tricky modeling here, so it's best I walk you through it as well. First thing you want to do, you want a new version of Fusion up and running. Click on Create Sketch. We're going to choose that left-hand plane over there. Units for both of these need to be millimeters. So change that first before you do anything. First thing you're going to do is do a 32 by 41 rectangle. 41 wide, 32 high. Finish the sketch. That rectangle we're going to extrude out 55 millimeters. Now I'll cut the hole in the top. Select the top, create a sketch. Under Modify, we want to go down and choose the Offset tool. We'll choose the outside of it, and because we want to move it inward, we're going to do a -2 millimeters. That's all good and fine, except for one slight problem. 3 of the sides are 2 millimeters thick, but the back side is actually 3 millimeters thick. So we need to change this setting right here. We'll do that by first creating a guideline using a construction line from the top left to right-hand corner, downward 1 millimeter. At the end of that line, we'll create a real line going all the way across. It should be 51 millimeters wide. To get that number, remember you extruded out 55 millimeters. We just took 2 millimeters off each side. That equals 51. We'll trim away everything at this point that we don't need, which is that top line and the lines on the side. Now it's done. We'll click Finish Sketch. Back to our home view, we'll see what we got. That little box we just made in there, we're going to extrude inward 30 millimeters. So you probably want to type -30. You may have noticed that there are fillets on the front side here. I don't put them in until much later because you really need the corners done to do both sets of holes that we're about to put in there. First thing we'll do here, on the front surface, we'll go ahead and add a sketch. And we're going to go from a bottom corner upward 19.5 millimeters. Doesn't matter which side you choose. And then inward 20 millimeters. Opening a line. Those lines actually should be construction lines. Then where those two lines end, we're going to make a new rectangle with a height of 3 millimeters and a width of 15. Those should not be construction lines. That's a real line. 15, tab 3. Now that's all set. We can click Finish Sketch. And we're going to extrude this hole this rectangle we just made. You want to change the distance of it. There's a temptation always to go through all, and you'll see there it's a terrible idea because we want to cut through both sides of it. So just choose distance, and we'll choose -2. And that one's all set. Now we'll cut those 15 holes in the bottom. So we got to go to our bottom surface, create a sketch. I'm going to turn it so we can see the same angle that we had before. We again want 2 guidelines to start, so we're going to make from the bottom right-hand corner, we're going to go in 15 millimeters. And from the end of that line, we're going to go upward 17.5. Where that second line ends, we're going to put a circle. It's hard to tell exactly what the diameter of the circle is. We used some guesswork in class and came up with 2.5 millimeter diameter. You might look at that and say, how am I supposed to draw 14 more of those when I really don't know the measurements? You don't need to know the measurements. If you go click on Create, we go down to Rectangular Pattern. That will allow you to use that circle and make a bunch more circles out of it. So we choose the circle itself. Don't choose a dot in the middle. It'll only make the dot in the middle. We want to go up a distance of 20 millimeters and make 5 going up, a quantity of 5 going up. Going to the left, we got a quantity of 3 instead of that already, but it's going to be 10 millimeters. So now we have our 15 holes. We'll click OK there, finish the sketch. Next thing you want to do is extrude all these through all the way. So you have 15 holes in the bottom. Best way to do it is pretty much do your setting on one of them. So I change direction, change the extent type to all, make sure the operation is cut, and then we can cut all the holes in there. And OK. OK, now we got 15 holes in the bottom. Next, we're going to make the 2 tabs that make up part of the hinge. So go ahead and select the side over here. Put a sketch there. At the top right-hand corner, we'll zoom in because we got to make 2 extremely tiny lines. There's a half millimeter line going up, a half millimeter line going away from the body. Where those lines end, we're going to make a 5 millimeter diameter circle. If you look at the plans, you'll see a radius 2.5. That means the diameter is 5. Those 2 guidelines we put in there, we can trim away so they don't give us any problems later. Okay. Finish sketch. That circle we just made, we're going to extrude back into the body, so it's probably going to be a negative 10. Make sure the command is join, but the operation is join, and we have a new surface right on there. I'm going to repeat that for the other side as well. Create sketch. What we can do in the second one, though, is we may be able to just project the circle that we made. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We'll see if it wants to work today. Okay. And it worked. Perfect. That new shape, we'll go ahead and extrude, again, back into the body, 10 millimeters. So you want to type negative 10, sorry. Between these 2, we need actually to add a rectangle. If you look carefully at one of the plans there, the section AA part of the plan, you'll see that it's actually extruded downward 2.5 millimeters between these 2 hinge sections. Here's an easy way to make that happen. We'll select that top surface, create a sketch. We're going to do a rectangle that is going to be 3 millimeters high and should be 35 millimeters wide. Finish the sketch. That little box there, we're going to push inward 2.5 millimeters. Negative 2.5. Now, if you look at how the hinge versus what you have on your screen versus the plan, it probably looks a lot more alike. 2 more things we got to do before we can declare this done, and that's to add a little dome section here so we can actually clip these 2 sections together. Click on create. We're going to go to sphere. There's a couple ways to do this. I'm going to see if we can do it a little simpler way here. I want it on this surface, and I want it at the center of the circle where that little circle popped up. We're going to draw our point there, and we're going to have a sphere that is a diameter of 3 millimeters. If you look in the plane, you'll see it has a spherical radius of 1.5. We need a diameter. We want 3. We also want the operation to be join because we want a dome there. We don't want to cut out like we do on the next part. That's all set. We can click OK. Now we'll flip over to the other one and do the exact same thing. Create a sphere. Say I want on this surface. I want the center of it to be where the center of that circle is. It's going to be a join. And it's going to be 3 millimeters. And now that section is done. Save it. And then you can open up a new tab and we'll build the second part of it. Second part. We're going to create a sketch. We're going to do it right on the front plane. This is the lid. The lid, we're going to create a rectangle that is 39 millimeters wide, 55 high. First thing you want to do, change the units. 39. That's 55. 39 high. Finish that sketch. We're going to extrude that to 2 millimeters. Build the hinge section here, and that's what we'll work on next. We actually need a new plane put in there right at the center. So we'll choose the side, one of the sides of our little box right here, and choose construct. We want to do an offset plane. And that plane is going to be negative 27.5 millimeters in from one side. Where does that number come from? Remember the thickness, or the width of that box is 55 millimeters. Cut it in half, 27 and a half. Let me just so I can see the section I'm going to work on. And we're going to draw our new part right here on this plane. Great sketch. First thing we want to do is from the bottom corner, draw a line going up 5 millimeters. Straight up. And where that line ends, we want one coming over to the left about 4 millimeters. These are guidelines, truth be known, but we want to draw them as real lines. The only hint we have about this in the detail B section is that the center of the circle it has a radius of 2.5. These we do that, we'll add a sketch fillet. These two lines with a radius of 2.5. That's going to give it a nice rounded edge, but it's also going to show us where the center of that radius is. Where that is, we're actually going to make a circle. Circle that is 5 millimeters wide. We then want to zoom in toward the bottom here. We have to finish this shape. So we want to draw a line coming from the bottom of our lid there up to the edge of the circle. And I think by default it's going to be 0.51. Then we need to finish the shape by connecting those two lines. Maybe I'll project it, but I'm just going to draw the line because it doesn't really matter. Then we can trim away what we don't need. This section of the circle is going to go, and then up top, part of the guideline is going to go. Yeah, that section of the guideline there we don't need. With that done, we can click Finish Sketch. That shape we are going to extrude. Where it says one side, you want to click the drop down and choose both sides. And they're going to go the same distance, so you want to make sure you choose that last option. The distance, again, we have to divide it looking at what's on the plan. The plan says it's going to be 34 millimeters wide, so we have to go 17 each direction. And that's that. These little tops here are actually a little too long, so we're going to make a new sketch on that section. I'm going to project that shape. And then extrude it downward 0.5 millimeter. Same deal on the other side. We're going to extrude that side down 0.5 millimeter as well. Same deal over here. We'll create a sketch. Project that rectangle. And extrude that one down 0.5 millimeter as well. Now, if you look at the plan, the part of the plan versus what you see on your screen, looks a little more similar. We'll go ahead and finish this top section here, so we just focus on the bottom for our last few parts. First thing we'll do, we'll again go to Create and choose Sphere, We want the sphere on this surface, and then we want to find the center of the circle. It gives a little circle there. That's perfect. The diameter, again, is going to be 3 millimeters, but this time we want the operation to be cut. So we have a little dome cut there that we can put that we can snap these two pieces together with. Same thing on the other side. Create sphere. 3 millimeters, cut. Got it. Back to our home view. Same deal as you saw before. There are little radial rounded edges toward the bottom there. I don't do that till the very, very, very end, because without that, things get in the way. Actually, I'll go back here to show you how that's done, because it's the last thing I want to do in here, and I didn't. We'll choose a fillet, and we want to fillet these two outside edges 3 millimeters. Turn the part around. I want to fillet those inside edges. Three millimeters. Okay, now that's 100% done. This one, we need to make a little tab that we can snap the pieces together with. So we'll choose that front surface, new sketch. We want a line coming in. Now we want two guidelines to make this. From the corner, we're going to go downward 2 millimeters, and then come in 22.5. Turn off our construction line. We then want to make a rectangle that is 3.2 millimeters high and 10 millimeters wide. And finish the sketch. The shape we are going to extrude outward to make that tab. So see, because we made it on that surface, I made two squares. We're going to select both of them, extrude out 13 millimeters. You might look at the plan and say, but I'm seeing 15. We have to account for the thickness of the lid. So it's going to go out 13 millimeters here first. Okay. I'm then going to actually go around to the other side, and we're going to finish this front part. Create a sketch there, and we're just going to project that rectangle. So I can just do a quick extrusion on it. I want to look at it from this angle there. Finish sketch, extrude that 2 millimeters, so it's even with the surface there. Perfect. Okay, now we'll come over here. We're going to do a new sketch on this surface. So we'll again make a couple lines here. We're going to make a line from this top left-hand corner that comes down 2.5 millimeters. These are real lines, not construction lines. Make a line coming over 1 millimeter and connect them. That part's going to get shaved off. Where that line, the 1 millimeter line initially ended, we're going to make a second 1 millimeter line. Then the plan is vague about how far this line goes down, but we have to go downward 3.2 minus 1.7. Straight down. Turns out it's 1.5 inches, or 1.5 millimeters. I'm going to move things over a bit so I can see what I'm doing. Okay. A line that goes back to where the original lid starts, and then straight up. The straight up line, if you look at the plan, is 0.3, and as we did there, it is 0.3. That's perfect. Then we're going to go to finish sketch. We're going to extrude and remove these two sections. Extrude this one and that one. Distance, all. Okay, so there we have our lid. We want to put those fillets on the end. Again, they are going to be 3mm fillet both ways. So we'll choose that one, that view there. That'll let us see both. Fillet, that edge, and that edge, 3mm. And now it's all done. Save it. If you want to go and print it, just let me know. I'll show you how to export the parts. We're all set. I'll talk to you guys later.